Hey everyone, James Lynch here doing a quick reaction video to the news that it appears that UFC Philly, UFC 330 has their main event, and it is going to be Islam Makhachev defending his welterweight title against Ian Garry. This according to one of our favorites on this channel, Alvaro Colmenero, who's usually on the point when it comes to news and everything else, very close to he even translates this here. He says, I said it a while back, but the fight is being negotiated at Islam and Garry, according to my sources. Morales is already out of his title shot. Presumably, it'll be August in Philadelphia at UFC 330, although Islam has already pointed towards International Fight Week in the same message. So maybe the location gets changed, but yeah, I mean, this makes sense. It was going to be either Morales or Garry. They go with Ian Garry. I don't have an issue with that. Say what you want about Ian Garry outside the cage. In the cage, he's earned himself a title shot. He's had a lot of really good wins. He just beat Bilal Muhammad in his last fight, the former champion. He beat Carlos Prates, which is a win that has aged very well. His one loss was against Shavkat in a fight where a lot of people felt like that was close, right? Like if you go look at the scorecards there in MMA decisions, and granted Shavkat was injured in that fight, but that was a fight where a lot of people felt like Garry was going to get destroyed, and he almost won, in my opinion. That fight almost won, I should say. So if you go look at the Rakhmonov fight, again, I think the majority did score it for Shavkat. Yeah, you can see that there, but a lot of 48-47s, right? It's not like it was like this huge blowout, I didn't think. So again, Garry's one loss is against a guy that's pretty damn good in Shavkat Rakhmonov. Outside that, Jeff Neal, Michael Page, maybe not the best wins, but Bilal and Prates for sure should earn him this title shot. And for Islam, we just want to see him back. He last fought in November. I know he had that injury. There were some talks about him maybe fighting on the White House card. That obviously didn't end up happening. Islam saying International Fight Week. I mean, I think that would be fine for both. International Fight Week's a little bit closer. Obviously, it's coming up to May now. This main event would be July 11th. I think that would be fine on that card too. But I'll be honest. Like when there was talk of them going to Philly, I didn't think Islam would necessarily be on this card. And again, in this video, we're not confirming it is the main event. But usually when you look at Islam's fights, it's either, Vegas, New York, Middle East. Those are sort of bigger cards. Philly's sort of not a new market. They've obviously been there before, but not as big as some of those other markets. So I'm a little bit surprised they would do that, but they also need a main event for that card. What else would be the main event that's a title fight? I hope for the fans of Philly that it ends up being this fight, because it's a fight that needs to happen and needs to make sense for sure. So again, Alvaro, saying this fight's being targeted. So Michael Morales isn't next, which is interesting. Now, I got a little bit of intel over the week and heard that, the UFC is very high on Michael Morales. I think they're just trying to get as much as they can out of him, I think, for now. So, I do look at maybe that main event coming up next weekend between Jack Della Maddalena and Carlos Prates. If, either of those guys win, maybe Morales fights them. Or, why not give Morales Kamaru Usman? There were some talks about Usman fighting Islam next. I think it would be a very interesting test for Kamaru Usman if he fought Morales. But if I'm being honest, I don't think Kamaru Usman wants that fight at this stage in his career. He wants to fight arguably the most dangerous striker at 170. I mean, you could say him and Prates are the two most dangerous, but I just have a feeling Usman's not going to take that fight, and that might be it for Usman. Like, I think it was title shot or bust for him. We'll see if that, he ends up proving me wrong here, but I kind of got this feeling that he might not want to take that fight. So that would sort of leave Morales fighting the winner of that fight. But quick tail of the tape between these two would be interesting here. Islam's 34. He is 5'10 with a 70.5 inch reach, and Ian Garry is 6'3 with a 74.5 inch reach. So Islam gonna have Garry gonna be 4 inches taller, and he'll have a 3 inch reach advantage, if my math's correct, 3 or 4. I think 4 inch, if I'm being honest. But yeah, it's hard to pick against Islam at this point, even at 170. I mean, that was a pretty dominant performance against Jack Della Maddalena. I can't show you the highlights, but if you look at just sort of the box score there with the stats, it was very dominant of a win. And I do I think Islam will be as dominant? No, because I think Ian Garry's got better takedown defense. I think he can handle wrestlers a little bit better. But you look at it in that fight when he fought JDM, 30-18 in significant strikes. He got 4 takedowns in that fight. The overall strikes was 140-30. Like, JDM, who's known as a striker, didn't really do a whole lot in that fight. And easier said than done against Islam. He himself attempted a takedown, didn't happen. And if we look at Ian Garry's stats, I believe his takedown defense is pretty solid too. So if this fight does end up happening, I do think Islam's going to be a decent favorite here. You can see Garry has lands more per clip at 4.78 compared to 2.45. Garry's takedown defense is 80%. So that's certainly going to be put to the test against Islam, who has a takedown average of 0.3110. His striking defense is at 61%. Garry's is at 52%. So don't be surprised if Islam tries to strike with him as well. Should be fairly interesting here. Again, early pick on this one. I think Islam probably wins a decision. Maybe he finishes Ian Garry. Garry seems pretty durable, tough to finish. Again, Gary's only loss was a decision loss and a close one at that. So it's hard to say that. But saying that, I think even going from a guy like Bilal Muhammad to Islam is a bit of a step up. So I do favor Islam in the spot. If I had to do sort of a guess on the odds, I think Islam will be anywhere from a 3 to 4 to 1 favorite around there, maybe even higher, maybe 5 to 1 favorite. Just because like Garry is a very good overall fighter, but he doesn't excel in one particular area. I don't really consider him having like major knockout power. He does have 7 knockout wins, but he's not like a one punch knockout guy like Prates or some of these other guys that you see in the weight class. He's got a good ground game as well, but only has 1 win by submission. So I don't really see a path to finish here for Garry. I think if you are liking the Garry side, I think decision's the way to go. I don't think he clips Islam. I don't think he submits him. I think if you are on the Garry side here, you go decision. But for Islam, yeah, maybe you look at that inside the distance prop. Maybe that does happen here. Maybe he does make Garry, tap or finish him. Most likely a choke here. If you look at Islam, 13 wins by knockout, 13 wins by submission, just 5 knockouts. So I lean more towards Islam with a submission win here over Garry. Could also be a decision though too. You look at 10 of his wins have gone to the judges' scorecard. So yeah, I think this is a this is a good fight. This is good matchmaking by the UFC. I was not in favor of the Kamaru Usman fight for the simple fact that fans just have a short memory that Usman took an entire year off. And I don't think because you came back and beat Buckley, that automatically means you get to get a title shot off that. I just don't think that that's how things should go. And I'm glad the UFC came to their senses and didn't book that fight because I think that's one of the easier opponents for Islam at this point. And I think Usman back in like 2019 when he was champion and he was in his heyday, I think that's a much more competitive fight. But the 2026 Usman is close to 40, doesn't fight that much. It's a little bit tough. I just didn't really see a path to victory for Usman there. I think the Garry fight will be more competitive, so I'm happy they're going that way. With all that said, though, I do think Morales is the most dangerous opponent for Islam because of that knockout power. Again, 14 wins by knockout, knocked out Sean Brady in his last fight, knocked out Gilbert Burns. All it takes is one shot. And, again, I would still pick Islam in that fight if that was to happen. But I don't like, I think Morales, poses something a bit interesting that Islam really hasn't had to face, at least recently, as like someone that's got like incredible knockout power at 170. JDM has knockout power, but again, I wouldn't put him in the same category as like a Michael Morales or Carlos Prates. So we don't have any fights booked. If I can make some other guesses in this video, well, we got about a minute left here. I kind of feel like they might end up doing DDP and Joe Pyfer next. Pyfer's from Philly. They would want probably a strong main event. I think Joe Pyfer has to be on this card, just being from Philly and with the big win he got over Adesanya. And I don't know what's going on with DDP right now, but he doesn't have a fight booked. They could maybe do Imavov. Again, do these fights make sense? Are they fair? Probably not. But I would say that, he's going to be on there. Sean Brady, if he beats Joaquin Buckley in a couple weeks, maybe he gets a turnaround and gets to fight on this card as well too. He could fight someone on this event as well. Think of all the Philly fighters. I think it is going to be a heavy Philly card. A lot of those guys from Brady's gym and Marquez BJJ and all those guys, don't be surprised to see them on this card. They will sort of load this up, but this is a numbered event. And I know Americans out there watching this, you don't pay for the pay-per-views. We do here in Canada, but they do try and still make those strong cards. So expect some good fights on here and then a lot of Philly natives if I had to make a guess here. But yeah, let's hope this happens. Again, not 100% official. Nothing wrong with talking about a potential fight on here. And again, it's being sourced by one of the best in the business, by Alvaro, who I recommend you guys following. Again, always on top of things, very much in the right when it comes to a lot of the news that's being broken here. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Was this the fight to make if it does end up happening? Is this the prop? Is this the main event you're happy with for Philly? Who wins the fight? Let me know all this in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.